So I'm kind of missed with that chaos. Yours discussion about at the beginning. I don't know if I missed anything or not.
Uh, well, we were just talking with, waiting for you to come on. We were talking about 4 and 5, the questions. Maybe I should bring it up so we can all look at it, the survey, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Let me bring up share screen. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
So what Steve was saying is we've got question 4 here that says, what keeps you from participating in beta alpha functions? Check all that apply, right? Then it says, would you like to be more involved? And if no, choose all that apply. Well, we're asking that question like twice, kind of.
I would
We're
agree. I would agree with that, but maybe the way we can segue it all together is to say on number 4, what keeps you from participating in more beta alpha alumni functions? And then maybe and then yeah, I agree with you that that could be cleaned up.
Or we just get rid of 4. I'm just suggesting if we get rid of 4, make 5 4, and then put all of these responses. If no, put these responses.
I agree with that. And if we do that, Mike Nauman suggested a question on his, and maybe we can still keep it to 10 questions if we decide to add his. But I like that idea.
What was his question? I read it, but I forgot it.
1 second, please.
Okay, I can bring it up. Well,
no, it'll take me just a sec here.
Hi, Ron. Looks like Ron's in the car. We're getting out of the car.
Mike Nauman's question, and his statement was at the very end, he says, something feels like it's missing from this survey. And he writes, when you attended SIU and were an active, did you feel like a member of a group or a brother of an organization? I never read that until now. Do you feel like a member of a group or a brother of an organization? Huh.
Well, that needs to be in one of the first 3 questions.
I'd say under number 2. So Rick, if you want to revise that one, like you were doing, keep on keeping on.
I would be happy to. Give me 1 second here. Bear with me. Okay, so you put it after number 2, right?
You mean Mike's question?
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it again?
No, I've got it up on the screen.
Okay.
But so I'm just saying we'll put it after number 2, right?
Yes.
3. We're gonna say
I'd probably put it number 2. How important? Very whatever. Then did you feel like a brother? 2, and then the third one, did AGR have an impact on making you a better man? To me, that's more chronological.
okay. Okay, let me write this and we can change it.
I mean, you all might disagree, and that's fine, whatever. But to me, it just would flow better from being the second. Not Nauman's being the second.
Okay, so you're saying put this as number 2. So let's
see how it flows.
let's see how that flows. So we'll put it down here. And then we'll change it to say, when you attended SIU and you were an active, and then say what you said again, Steve.
Whatever Mike said on that one, let me,
Yeah. So
When
did
you
feel like-
attended SIU and were an active, did you feel like a member of a group or a brother of an organization?
so
would
we
you say a
should-
brother of an organization or a brother of the fraternity?
Yeah,
okay, but those have to be choices, right? So we have to bring that down as
so A would be, did you feel like a brother, did you feel like a member of a group?
right. So we'd say A and B. Oops. So we're just going to change to say member of a group. Sorry, I'm just taking my MEMB, member of a group. Or brother of a fraternity, or would you want to write it?
Brother of a fraternity, brother what'd you say, Steve?
Yeah, brother in the fraternity. Or you could say of a fraternity, either one.
What do you think about changing member of a group to something like member of a yeah, they now call them RSOs. I don't know if group's good enough, but or registered student organization or something like that. What do you think?
Or a student organization.
Student organization.
And I don't know if that should student organization be capitalized and fraternity capitalized or not. I don't know. I'm not good in grammar.
I think student and organization should be lowercase.
And what about fraternity?
I'm going to leave that to Steve. I don't know that answer. Or Ron.
In the fraternity, I leave it capitalized.
Hey, Ron, you're muted if you didn't know it.
Also, on number 2, when you attended SIU and you were an active, did you feel like a then member of, feel like a member, like a, and then a colon.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, what do we want to do about 4 and 5? No, 5 and 6 now. 5 and 6 now. Which one do we want to keep 6 and then say if no and apply and put these in there? Or we just keep 5 and make 6? Would you like to be involved? Yes or no? I don't know.
So doesn't I mean, you can go different ways there, but with a 5, it's got basically it's telling you why they haven't participated.
Right.
Yeah. And it would be the same reasons they wouldn't participate in the future, wouldn't they?
Right.
How about for grins, Rick, you get rid of everything below name and cell for, in other words, if no, all the way down to D, just cut it out of there completely. Leave name and cell there. And go and just for grins, see what it looks like by saying if no.
You just go on.
Wait. I wait and leave if no there? What are you saying again, Tom? So
I was saying you cut out if no, and you go if no down the D and other and just take it out of there and see what,
including the if no,
and let's see what the survey looks like without it.
including the if no, get rid of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. This brings up what I learned when I took the survey. On number 5, I was going to suggest that we say what keeps you participating in more beta alpha alumni functions. In other words, the word more is added.
Well, what if they, okay, I guess if you're involved in none, anything would be more. So that would apply. Right?
Looks like it to me.
So we've got 11 now, if we keep the way it is now. Is that okay?
Yeah, for me it is.
Okay.
Rick, Steve, Ron, I got an idea that came into my head today, and I don't think this may not be the proper forum. But after I talked to Brett Ward the other day, Brett says to me, "Oh, the only reason I was at summer meeting was my wife kicked my ass and made sure I signed up." I'm beginning to wonder if the women spouses, friends aren't maybe a driver in engagement that we're not maybe reaching. And I wanted to know if this was a format or another format to collect where people wanted to volunteer their spouse's information to, if you know where I'm going with this.
I mean, we've got a, I mean, well, you're aware, both of you, because I send to each of your spouses a copy of the newsletter. So Judy Brohammer had started a wives club or whatever you want to call it. And she gathered a bunch of names of spouses, and I have them in our MailChimp. And then from there, every month, they get a copy of the newsletter. And it helps because then they know what's going on and they're involved. And how do you get other spouses involved in it? I don't know the answer to that unless we maybe put a question here. Would your wife like to receive information from the chapter? I don't know.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Ron.
Finally got the computer up. I was trying to work on my phone. I finally got our computer going. Judy says no.
Rick was sending everything out to anybody we had an email for.
Did you hear that?
What was it? What was it, Judy?
I said Rick was
That is Rick.
Rick was sending oh hi Rick.
Hi.
Was sending anybody that we had an email for. Rick was just sending the newsletter out so that they knew what was going, all the wives knew what was
Right.
going on.
Right, but how do we get more wives involved that want to receive it?
I don't know. I think you you know, you're gonna have to ask the guys if their wives, you know, want to receive the information. I would, quite honestly, I go because Ron wants to go. If he said, no, you know, not gonna go to summer meeting this year, I'm not gonna beat him up to do it.
Right.
So
But I mean, is this,
I go because it's important to him and I enjoy everybody, but it's not a be all end all.
Would it help if we had more specific activities for the spouses? If we're at perhaps founders or summer meeting?
Oh,
I go either way on that. Yes
you
and no.
know, I honestly don't think so because most of the time we're, you know, the only time that we're not involved is when you guys are having your business meeting. And quite honestly, most of us don't mind having a few hours just to ourselves.
Yeah. Well,
What do
most
you
of the
think-
most of the activities that we have, like you said, besides that, are geared for, you know,
Are for everybody.
yeah, that's right. It's inclusive.
how do
So,
you, what's the secret to draw wives in that aren't currently engaged and neither are their husbands? Is there a way to make them feel like
I just
they know what's going on and they would be more willing to come to these events by receiving information? Or I don't know, because I feel once you get the wife comfortable with other wives, they feel more comfortable coming the next time and the next time.
right.
Am I
But one of the things you got to realize is an awful lot of the wives are still working.
right?
I don't think wife involvement is a driving factor to get attendance to the meeting, guys. I just really
Yeah,
think you're
I-
chasing a red herring.
I don't
Yeah.
either. I really don't.
Ron and Judy, I disagree with you. And I think there's a hidden resource out there
Nope.
where I can name person after person after person where the guys wouldn't be there unless the wife was doing the registration and driving the bus.
That might be, but the wife didn't start it in the first place.
Yeah. No, if Ron wasn't coming, believe me, I'm not gonna fuss at him to come. This is his organization, not mine. And if he wants to come, I will come along. If he doesn't want to come, I'm not gonna fuss at him. That's
Okay.
that's it. Period.
I agree. I agree. We got to get the guys to come. There's no
That's
doubt
right.
about that. And that's got to be
That's
the
right.
first thing.
If you
But
get
the
if you
guys-
get the men interested, and they find out that there's something for their spouse to be involved in, then the spouses will come. But the spouses are not going to be
Right.
drivers to get people to this meeting. If you think
No.
that, you're chasing a red herring.
Right. No, I agree with you. We do have to get the guys to come first. But what I see, my thought is you've got two different kinds of situations here. You've got guys that the wives have been involved in the fraternity since day one. They've grown up with the guys in the fraternity. They know what the fraternity is all about. And then you got the guys that have wives that don't have any idea what the fraternity is, and they don't have any interest in it at this point. And so the husbands don't want to come maybe or whatever because they don't know anybody, and the wives don't know anybody, so nobody comes. So I don't know how to change that.
You need to get the guy to come first and find out, oh, by golly, there's something here for my spouse to do.
Right, but how do you do that? How do you get the guys to come?
Well,
That's
the-
what we're at here.
the wife is not going to be the one to get the only exception to that, I would say, is if the wife was also an alum and she just wanted to come back to Carbondale, or if, you know, one of the other wives is. But other than that, we are not the driver. You
Right.
guys are the driver.
You're right. I agree with you. That initial having somebody show up is not the wives. I think though that keeping them coming after and after, if the wives feel comfortable and no other wives, that helps.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy, seeing everybody again. But if Ron, said, I don't feel like going to summer meeting this year, I'm not
Sure.
gonna say, well, we really ought to go, or I really
Right.
want to go. This is
No, I
this
don't, I
is-
agree. I agree with that.
So how about as a compromise, we add a line in there for collecting information and we see what we learn.
Like, what do you mean, Tom?
What I mean is find an appropriate place on this survey. I'm not gonna, by the way, I'm not gonna jump on the sword for this. This isn't that important to me, but I'm only throwing a suggestion out. That we find an appropriate place within the body of this existing survey to put spouse's email.
I think that's a great idea, but I think to address that question further on 5D, change that from not enough activities for your spouse or partner to something to the effect of, if there were activities for your spouse or partner, or if there were activities, if your spouse knew of activities, something along that line. And then I think your spouse's address is good. Put it down there with the email for the where you got optional cell number and email. I think. I mean, why not? Yes, no, Tom? Does that suit you?
Yes, that suits me just fine. And thank you.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd change D though. Because you're changing the direction you're going with the question, I think. You're putting another question in there.
Well,
Maybe
you look
I
at it
don't
from the
understand.
standpoint, you look at it from the purpose of this survey, the primary purpose of this survey is to find out why people who are not participating do not participate.
Yeah.
If they are not participating, then their spouse does not know that there's even activities or things for their spouse to do. So that's where I was trying to head with that. And maybe it warrants a question all of its own.
It might.
Would your
Yeah.
spouse be interested, or would you attend if there were activities for your spouse or something to that effect?
Well,
you have to look at this from our purpose in this is to find out why people who are not active or interested or participating, why they're not.
exactly.
40 or so that are. It's interesting to get these answers from me. And yes, Steve and Rick, yes, we did want you to fill this out and answer it because Tom and I found it very interesting, the answers we got from the guys that took the survey, and there was kind of a common thread in there. But all the people that are aware of it and are participating, their answers are going to be pretty much the same, I think.
For those that participate, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I don't,
Yeah.
maybe I don't understand what you're wanting to do with D, but
Well,
if they're not coming and you go down through these list of reasons, doesn't D cover the reason for the spouse? If the spouse, doesn't want to come or doesn't think there's activities, that might be a reason. I don't know. Maybe
I don't know that. Maybe I don't even know there's activities for my spouse. Maybe
that's right.
I don't know.
How about if we experiment, we'll leave that D in there. How about just for grins to try to wrap this up? How about we put in there a question about if we had more activities for spouses, would it appeal or something like that? In other words,
I like where you're going with that.
What?
I like where you're going with that.
So So in other words, I don't know how this question's gonna read, but let's put another question in there that says, if Beta Alpha chapter had more activities for spouses, friends, would you basically participate more?
Where do you want this, after 5?
I think that's a good place for it.
I think you need to say in conjunction with alumni activities. Maybe it's getting too complicated, but
How about we just type it out and see how it looks?
yeah. I
We'll
like-
delete it if we don't like it.
Okay, read it, so tell me again and I'll type.
If there are spouse or partner activities in conjunction with alumni functions, would that be more interesting, or would that attract you and your spouse or attract you to our meetings? I know it. You gotta have a target.
Okay, I'm a slow typer. Yeah.
Spouse or partner activity. I don't know how they come up with this partner crap.
All right, if there are spouse
Slash
or
partner
partner,
activities in conjunction with alumni activities. Would that draw
Yeah.
you to the meetings or something to that effect?
Yeah, would that increase your participation?
Yeah, that's the thought I think we're trying to convey here. Now we need to make it sing. And that's a yes, no. Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. And maybe that
All
should
right.
come after 7.
okay,
Or after, yeah. Well, after 6, yeah, there you go, yeah. Would you be more interested?
or should I put that before number 7?
Yeah, after 6 and before 7,
Yeah, okay.
that's, yeah.
Like that?
Would you like to be involved? If there were spouse activities, would you be involved? Would you get involved? I don't know. What do you think, guys? I think that's the thought I was trying to get at. And how does that dovetail in with 5D? If we put that one in, should we take 5D out?
No, because you're asking why they haven't in the past
True.
up there.
Yeah, I agree. If they circle 5D and they don't answer number 7, if they say they don't come because there's not enough activities, and then they say, if we had more, would you participate? And they say no, then that doesn't make any sense. I guess we just have to wait and see what they.
Yeah, I doubt that we get many on number 5D.
Yeah, probably not. I mean,
I'm going to throw it back at your way that I think we'll be surprised on that one.
How about an item costs too much?
under G, or under,
After G? Well, yeah, after F. Costume. Oh, you got two. I'm sorry.
We
You
got
got
too
two. expensive. I see
expensive.
it. I see it. E is already there. Sorry.
okay.
Rick,
it's-
I think under over spouse's name, you should, or do you guys think that optional covers both the name and the spouses? Or do we put another optional below,
I mean, should
above
I do
spouses?
this? Should I do this or no? Or, like,
AGR brother name, AGR brother, whatever, AGR.
Hey, Rick, if I haven't said so, thank you for being so patient with us.
I thank you for being patient with me. I'm a shitty typer.
No, I think you're doing a hell of a job. I couldn't do this well.
It's what he does, Tom. It's what he does.
Yeah, rock on. And then spouse's name, it should be an apostrophe, S. No, after E.
Yeah.
What about, we have partners?
Oh, wow.
We do have two that have partners that I know of.
You know what? That's interesting because above there, we're asking if there were more activities, would the partners come? But then below we do spouses and we assume it's all spouses.
Just drop the apostrophe S and put spouse / partner / spouse / partner name.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Close those two spaces between spouse and partner, spouse / partner. There you go. Same thing.
Boy, it's all about consistency, isn't it?
Well,
It helps.
some extent anyway.
All right, then I'll do that same thing up here by getting rid of, I think I have a space up above. here
Yeah, it's
too.
in line 7.
Yeah. Should that be capitalized here or lowercase down
Lowercase.
below?
Lowercase, but-
Down below here?
but capital on the first because it's just a line.
So like that, Ron?
Yes.
Thank you for the grammar lessons.
I don't know.
But so
I
should
would
brother
take
be
out
lower?
AGR and just brother name, cell number.
Okay,
'Cause if they don't realize they're AGR brother, then we're probably wasting our time.
right.
But Tom, I think your point on optional on both those is probably good.
Should I do another optional underneath here or just leave the one to cover
No,
both?
I think Tom's point is good. Optional on both of them.
You know, it's funny, but I was thinking about, what was said by Judy and by the group and everything. And I'll give you, just as a sidebar, 5 people that would not participate if it wasn't for the wife kicking their ass. Brett Ward, Dewey Grennert, Doug Wood. Let's see if there's 3 more. And there's a couple more that I can think of right off the bat. And so it's amazing when they see the information or whatever, they're motivating their husbands.
But they didn't get that information initially.
No, they didn't, but they are, I think some of them are on Judy's list.
Now they might, if one of these dudes gets involved, then if spouse finds out and says, well, that sounds like a lot of fun, let's go to that. But
Right.
again, you got to assume that these people, they don't know squat from Shinola about it.
Correct.
No, I agree. You have to show up first.
Agreed. Thank you for working with me on throwing that out there. It's just I just don't know how this is all going to work out, but until we try, we won't know. Can I ask you guys one last question? Because I've had a lot of time to think about this survey since the other day. And this is a general question. Do you feel that the tone of the survey is positive? And do you feel that the tone is outreaching to people in a in a positive way. And it doesn't sound like we're Debbie Downers here when we're asking people to fill this out.
I think that goes to the opening paragraph where you say we're trying to get something going here and we can't do it without you.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Steve, what do you think?
Same.
Okay.
That's where you set your tone and the need, and I don't see anything in the questions, whatever, that are on the negative side, so, no, I'm fine. I think it's good.
I'd like to go back and address number 2. You were talking about that, but I was only listening. I think what we're really trying to find out here is, did you feel like a brother or a member? Or just a member? And the just a member is what we're really trying to get at. And yet, I don't know, maybe that's demeaning.
That may be, I like where you're going with that, Ron, but it could be leading the question.
Yes, I agree. How would you answer it if I ask you, did you feel like a brother or did you feel like just a member of something? Would you feel like that was leading you personally?
If I was not involved, I don't think I'd be offended by the word just. It's pretty hard hitting. It's pretty hard hitting and it hits you right between the eyes, but I don't think just a member would offend me.
Judy said only a member. Only a member of an organization or a brother in the fraternity. And I would, yeah, I would take out student, only a member of an organization. And I would put that first. First, did you feel like you were only a member of an organization or did you feel like you were a brother in the fraternity? You know, this is an interesting point. I was having a discussion with some of my friends here in my retirement community, and some old dogs like me that went through fraternity rituals, if you will, 50 years ago, and they have the same conclusions that we have been discussing, interestingly enough, and their thoughts are interestingly the same. They feel like that it is not what it was. I think one of them said, you don't really have a goal. You haven't really worked or suffered, if you will, or sacrificed to get something. You had to work to get that golden ring when we went through. Now they don't. And
I totally agree with you.
I totally agree with you. And unless you work for something, it doesn't mean a damn thing. And I don't think that the current world has to work very hard to get a membership.
But the really interesting part was that, as I said, these are a bunch of old guys like me that were in different fraternities, not AGR, different fraternities. I felt a thigh and come on, want to lay you, and those fraternities. But
Well, you know what'll prove that then, because we have your initiation year. After 1992, we'll see how many people answer that question differently than the before 1992, when that all changed.
Agreed.
Up there in the line 2, strike the A. In the actual line 2, strike the A. Did you feel like, only a member of an organization, or B, brother in the fraternity? A brother in the fraternity? Because feel like A, only a member doesn't quite hack it. There you go. There you go.
You want that capital or no or lower? The brother.
I vote for capital. Steve, you're the grammar guru.
I think technically it wouldn't be, but I think for emphasis, I'd capitalize it.
I agree with Steve on both of those comments.
The only other comment I have, I like what we put together. The only other comment that I want to throw out for Rick is when you're formatting this, as long as it doesn't get too long, can you try to ensure that there's enough space for people, even with big ass handwriting like mine, to get their point across?
Yeah, typically in a form situation, they give you what's called a text box,
I see.
and it's an infinite, I mean, it might cap at, 300 words or whatever, but it's a large thing. So whether you put 3 words in or 300 words, it really doesn't matter.
You know what? It's interesting you say that, Rick, because I filled out a survey today for either the Hampton Inn in Carbondale or the Holiday Inn in Columbia, and it had a word count thing on there, and it had 500 words.
Right. Yeah, you can adjust that typically in forms however many you want.
Go down to line 12 and change AGR to beta alpha. And I wonder if in 1 and 3, we talked about it, but should we just take AGR out of there, because anybody that's going to fill this out knows we're talking about beta alpha AGR.
How about we leave that first one in there so people remember
Okay.
what they're, I know this sounds goofy.
Oh, no, I agree.
It sets the tone for the survey, and then if they get past the first opening paragraph, they remember what they're filling this out for.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
All right. That's kind of funny. I don't know. I'm kind of
No,
laughing.
I agree. How about number 6? Change that to beta alpha.
Yeah.
And Steve brought this up earlier, and again, I'll make sure it's done uniformly based on what SurveyMonkey allows. But if you look at one, the checkbox is before the vary, but then if you look down here, yes and no is after the yes or no. So I will make them whatever SurveyMonkey says, right? So it'll be uniform.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Yep.
And for the group, Rick and I had a conversation the other day, and Rick's getting ready to go to his daughter's wedding out west. I said to Rick, I said, whatever we do, we have to do this right. And if it means from a time element for Rick that you don't get it done before you leave, which it may or may not happen, I say, let's just get it out, but get it right whenever we send it out. So we're all in support of you, Rick, with your timelines.
Yeah, that's fine. Because the other thing I want to do is, my first goal is to call SurveyMonkey and just verify all the information, and find out some more information about how they keep track of the data and analyze the data, things like that. And then create the survey and then send it to the 4 of us as a test, so we know how it's going to play out and make sure that it's okay. And then if it's not okay, I can make final adjustments, and then I can send it out to everybody. So my goal is, hopefully, I'm trying to get the newsletter written as well for October 1st. So I'm trying to get both done. If I can, I'll get it all written for the 4 of us, hopefully at least before I leave. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try for that.
That sounds like a hell of a plan. Wow, if we don't have any other comments, then I think we have fleshed this out pretty well.
Works for me.
All
Um,
right.
Oh, last thing, I just saw this, and I don't want to be overly picky, but name and cell. How about cell number on number 6 with with a pound sign or number, whatever you think is best. Or do we need to make a space? Do we need to make a space for name and a space for cell so it's consistent?
I
I
think
don't
name
know.
and cell number, I think name and cell number is fine.
Like that.
An email.
Okay, I'm good.
Well, hopefully we'll pick up, if they fill that out, hopefully we'll pick up email down below.
Yeah, cause that's the name and the cell number, both are, it's, we're duplicating if they repeat it down in the bottom.
Yeah. I'm wondering if we should just make this a statement. If yes, please fill out the information below and get rid of this.
I think that's good. If yes, yes.
So if yes,
If yes, below isn't optional.
right.
Please provide your contact information at the end of the survey.
Yeah,
That's pretty wordy, though.
well, it is, but it's taken out 2 whole lines of stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, put a comma after the yes, if yes, comma. If yes, yeah. If yes, please provide your information at the end of the survey. I think that's good. I think that's fine.
How about your contact information?
Sure.
Be specific.
I'm finished adding any edits or corrections. I think we have, I'm well satisfied with what we have here. Now it's up to you to put the final vote on.
I think it looks good. On another note, Tom, I went out to the casino out there at where it used to be the winery and tasting room. That is
Yeah.
quite a place. That's unbelievable.
Is that right?
It looks like it's right uptown. I mean, it's remarkable. It's really nice.
You're talking about Walker's Bluff, right?
I am indeed.
Wow. I heard good things from Mike and Jim. Wow.
I don't know. I didn't price the rooms or anything like that. I noticed there's a fancy restaurant and then there's just a really nice restaurant, kind of uptown and kind of midtown. Prices were pretty high, particularly in the fancy restaurant. Interesting, they're side by side, but fancy restaurant's got some pretty fancy meals in it. So I don't know if you were going to cater stuff or something. I don't know what that might cost, but. And I have no idea what the rooms cost, but
When you went into the casino, Ron, I assume you went in or that area.
I
Was
did.
there any security you had to go through?
Yes, there was. When you went
Yes,
into the gaming area, there were two mobsters standing there. One a computer, and the other one had one of those things that they swipe up and down. When they
Wands.
buzz when you try to carry your gun through the line.
Yeah, I had somebody been out there said something about security, but I didn't understand what they
That
were
was
talking.
that was the only place there was security. Otherwise, I walked all over the place, and I did not actually enter the controlled area. But yes, the casino area, the gaming area is fenced. And like I said, there were two goons standing there to check to actually let you into that area. But otherwise, throughout the rest of it, nobody paid any attention to me, and I looked pretty suspicious.
Yes, shady character. Shady character. So that sure sounds like a good angle for that. You know, be pretty brand new and be fresh and
Well, they got meeting rooms, lots of hotel rooms. Obviously, they have food. I don't know if they would like. I'm sure they would cater a banquet or something of that nature. But my only question would be what prices were, and I didn't really, want to sit down and try to talk prices with somebody when I didn't really have any idea what I was doing other than looking around.
Mike Nauman said that new reservations, they've only been open 3 weeks, were 99. He suspected it might go to 129 or something like that. I don't know where he came up with that 129 number at, but that's what he did.
Well,
And
I think are you thinking February or summer?
summer.
I would think in the middle of summer, if you said we're going to bring you 30, 40 guests, I would think they would give you a deal on the rooms, but maybe not.
I would think so too. I have another completely different subject for you gentlemen. Knowing that Rick's headed out of town, there's a lot of stuff going on with the potential of a new house and things like that. And some things that need to probably be put out in front of the board. I have contacted Rick Hyatt, and I haven't heard from Rick in weeks. And I wanted to know if Ron or Steve, if you would be willing to contact Rick, see if he's okay, and see if we can get a board meeting. Because for Rick and Steve's part, there needs to be maybe some approvals that the direction we're headed in with working with Chris, the realtor, on a potential new house is in sync with everybody's desires.
I don't have
Along
any
that,
problem with contacting him, and I'm sure Steve doesn't either.
yeah, along those lines, I talked to Susan Graham on Thursday, I guess it was. Did she talk to you guys she said she'd talked to, I think she said she talked to you, and then she talked to Kupek.
Yes, she did talk to us.
What was that? I mean, I didn't get into with her. That wasn't something I was necessarily dealing in, but she didn't give me any details other than she was going to go talk to Kupek about foundation coming up with, or at least pushing Lane about raising Greek Row and building some new houses out there.
Ron, you want to run it by him? You want me to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just talking about what she.
So first of all, Tom and I asked if she thought there was any way that we could do fundraising through the SIU organization. And first of all, she said, well, one, there's no money that the organization itself could provide. But then we bore into that a little bit, and she's going to see if maybe, like our scholarship, we could establish a fund that could be that could work through the SIU organization. But the answer there is money that goes through that organization would be exactly like the money that goes through the SIU or through the AGR Foundation. Money's only going to be able to use somehow connected to educational purposes.
Mm-hmm.
The other thought was well, how about selling us the property that 116 sits on and tear it down and we'll build a new house? Well, then we talked a little bit about once upon a time, there had been some talk that they were going to build a new Greek Row and so on and so forth. So that Tom then said, well, look, we're talking about spending maybe as much as $2 million here, and we don't want to commit that kind of money till we have at least a pretty good idea that the university is not going to come up about 2 years from now and say, oh, we're going to build a new Greek Row. And Susan said, well, let me try to get with Kupek or whomever and see if we can nail that down. If SIU has any even inkling that the property out there would be for sale, or that they might at some time in the future be interested in entertaining a new Greek Row, for lack of a better word. So in my mind, it's just kind of boilerplate, but because I think SIU's, I don't think they're ever gonna really, I just don't think they're ever gonna really commit to anything, but at least it's a door opening, and we could maybe get some feeling for where they were thinking about going.
Hyatt and I both have talked to Lane about that. We've been, and his predecessor. The one thing that I think is promising, whether it ever mature or not or develop, I don't know. But Kupek is really close to Lane, and Lane and Mahoney both want to have a Greek system there at Southern. So what they're going to do, I have no idea whether they'll ever do anything. But I know the desire from the university leadership is there. It's whether they're ever going to do anything about it.
It, taking it a, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're going to say what? Go ahead.
Taking it a step further, we had a handout from Chris Barrett and his partner on some potential real estate or schematic layouts of a potential AGR house. And I gave that copy to Susan, and it was that afternoon that she seemed to have shared it with with Matt and some other people. And weirdly enough, when I was at the student center, I saw the chancellor in the stairwell, and I told him what I was there for. And he says to me, do you have time, or will you be here all day, or what's your schedule look like? And ironically, I didn't take the bait for saying, well, we'd like to talk to you about, a potential Greek Row or something like that. I just kind of, my mind was like, wow, I got to get on the road. I got to get going. I got to get something done today. And I know what I would have said if I'd thought about it. And that was, well, let's get going on some kind of a meeting and find out from the horse's mouth what the future is. So anyway, then we sit down with Susan. Susan sees this schematic layouts and says, wow, these guys may move forward with a house with or without the university. And I think it created a little bit of urgency, or at least paying attention to the facts from some people that maybe had never taken this thing seriously before. And I'm not saying we will build on this property at 305 and 307 Mill, but to have some schematic drawings and to show what it could be is farther than we've ever been yet. And so, Steve, to answer your question, long way around, I think we created some excitement from her and from Matt that they didn't know that we were serious.
Well, at least rattled the bushes a little bit. I mean, in my mind, the worst out of all this, the worst thing that we could do is commit ourselves to a project over, say, a 3 or 4 year period, and put in, $1 million, $2 million, and 2 years, 3 years from now, the university come along and say, oh, we're going to reinvent the Greek system, and it's going to be at XYZ, wherever on campus. I mean, that would be the pits.
It would be the pits, and it's best we find this out now.
Yeah.
Well, I found out,
really don't think that's going to happen, but
one other thing that Susan told me. Now, you all knew that J.J. Hall, the former dean of students, been let go, basically.
oh yes,
Yes.
oh, yes.
No longer there.
We had a little discussion about that.
And when she met with the housing trust and I was there, she kept talking about building some quads out beyond the communications building there, and for sororities. Well, I find out that that's was never in the plan to do that out there. So that space was never intended for that, so.
University of Central Missouri has quads for their fraternities and sororities, and it's just kind of, it's glorified dormitory housing in my mind.
Yeah,
I'd rather be off campus if that were the case.
the one thing that we've still got to keep in mind is the current situation, and we need to do something about that fairly soon.
Yes.
Steve, that's a great point. So let's dive into it real quickly. I don't want to keep everybody too long tonight. I know everybody has a lot going on, but so Steve, Rick, the perfect scenario is that Chris Barrett, the realtor, is agreeable to doing some minor upgrades to the house at 305 Mill and putting in sprinklers and allowing Greek letters on there, which gives us a place to go in August of 24. And then in the meantime, they would allow us to begin to fundraise and then over time bring, if it were all to work perfectly, merge the two houses together with a centerpiece that bridges the two houses together. So right off the bat, it's not a perfect scenario, but we have a place to go tentatively a year from August at 305 and 307 Mill.
I gotta
Both
say,
buildings.
if we were just to rent, if we were just simply to rent one or the other of those properties, each of them will hold 12 people. Each of them have individual rooms, and they're set up so that there's in half of each, there's a shared kitchen, and then there's 2 bathrooms on each side of one house, which holds 12 people, which just that in itself would be better than the crap we've got.
Yep.
And then with a plan to, as Tom said, to join those two together and really build a house.
And
The
what would the
ballpark-
rental cost be?
Sorry,
What
I'm
would the rental cost be for renting either or both of those units?
375 a head.
yeah, $375 per room.
No, that's
So
not much
pretty
different.
reasonable.
Now the guy's interest and indicated that they wouldn't be interested in having people and split in 2 houses. But if we just rented one house, it'd be better than what we've got, and they have the same number of people in the house. So
Yeah, that's pretty well equivalent to what they're in now in a better facility.
much better facility.
Yeah.
Much better. And if you take the tone of the conversation with Chris and his business partner, that they want to work with us, it puts us in a different spot than we're in right now. They would paint, recarpet, and update the one side. They would put a fence up. They would put sprinkler systems in, and we could put Greek letters on one side of that unit.
And they would do all of that and charge us only $375 a room.
How long a lease?
Wow, that's pretty good.
1 year,
Just 1 year lease?
but probably renewable. And
by that time, we'd have an idea whether we had any opportunity to move forward.
so what I just said to you, gentlemen, is the reason why I want the board to understand what we're trying to accomplish, the why, the therefore, and I'm wanting to ask your help in helping me get Rick Hyatt to get a meeting out there and gain the approval of the people on the board, so everybody knows what we're doing. There's no surprises, and everybody feels a part of the game.
Did you try to call his office or just his cell phone?
Sell.
Yeah, call his office, his secretary will tell you where he is.
I will do so.
Then if you can't get him, call me, I'll get a hold of him.
Okay,
Now, he had a meeting somewhere out west. I don't know whether he's had that or not, but he's in line. He told me this. I don't think it's anything secret, but he's in line to be the next president of the National Association for Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers.
That'll keep him busy.
Yeah.
I don't
And-
know if we can, I don't know if we can really have a meeting without, like this without Rick's story.
well, the goal was to have this meeting by, Rick, you're leaving on the 28th?
What day are we leaving? 28th or 29th was it?
Friday, September 29th.
We're leaving on the 29th.
So the goal would be to have a meeting by the 27th.
In days from now.
Yeah,
September's going fast.
it is. Does anybody have any concerns or issues about what we've discussed tonight about the direction we're trying to move this thing?
I just have one question and I'm just trying to get it straight in my head. So I believe, Tom, you had mentioned before that the realtor really wanted to sell both units, if I remember hearing you correctly, ultimately, but they would be willing to rent until we could establish a fund and get the money to buy the property. Now, what would happen if we rent now, we move everybody in, we start the process to buy, and for some reason we can't raise the money and we can't buy the house? What happens at that point? I'm just,
My read
Where
on
they
that,
want to sell the house.
so would
What's
they
that,
just
Don?
sell the house to somebody else and we would still stay and rent from the new owners, or potentially?
Who knows?
I think
They
that
want to get out of the rental business.
they want to get, they do want to sell,
Yeah.
but what they posed to us is that if we felt confident enough with enough members, and Wyatt and company could recruit enough members, then there could be potentially people on the other side in the other building who could rent. And then if we didn't have, so think of this in units of 6. So there would be 12, 6 and 6 on one building. Then the second building would have 6 or another 6. But realistically, that's probably not going to happen. But they said to us, maybe you can help us find 6 renters. And after what Ron and I saw of the Sigma Alpha ag sorority with 50 members on the yard, and they have some alliances with the AGRs. Potentially, we could throw it out to them to say, you know what, maybe you can find 6 of you that want to rent it. So it would be kind of a quasi partnership to work with Chris and fill up that other building.
Specifically though, Rick, to address your question, they are changing their business plan, and yes, they want to be rid of all their rental property.
Okay.
Now, all that said, my sense is that if they got rid of all their rental property except these 2 houses, and they thought we were going to play ball with them and make it pretty easy for them, and that's the reason that there's 3 of them involved in this partnership, and 2 of them are doing something different, and so they're just needing to get out of the business. There's too much work for one person to try to keep track of. That's the bottom line, or at least that's what I gleaned from the discussion. So, but I also sense that if they got into kind of a relationship with us where it was fairly easy for them to keep track of this, if this was all their property they had left, I don't think we would have a problem working with them.
Okay.
So
I agree with that statement completely.
From a long-term or longer-term perspective, if nothing from the university ever occurred And our feeling was to go ahead and let them build out to that, what you showed with putting a thing in the center to merge the two buildings together. What do you do about the tenants? You they build out while the tenants are still there, or what's the, I guess, perception for the future and making that happen? I mean, we're renting it and then all of a sudden they're gonna do some remodeling and merge those two buildings. What do you do with the tenants when that's happening? I don't think they can get it all done over a summer, but maybe they could. I don't know.
Their attitude was that they can do construction and have a track record of getting it done in 90 to 110 days. And
Yeah.
so what would happen is that, and Ron, please correct me if I didn't interpret this correctly, is that they would basically build the center, assuming we went into full-blown house buying mode. And by the way, for the record, it sounds like a 2 to 2.5 mil fundraising effort to make this happen. So I'll just get that out there. That's the dollar amount that is probably realistic. But back to your point, Steve, they would build the center and then move people from one side to the other and one side to the other side and remodel as they went.
And then
They want $714,000 for these two properties as they sit right now. So as Tom said, if that was the way we were going, you live in one, fix one, build the middle, live in the other one, finish it, and then you'd be setting tall cotton.
It sounds like a wonderful deal. It really does.
Is there enough easement on either side of the two buildings to put a drive to the parking lot?
Wow, you bring
Next
up a
question.
great story and something that they have already thought of. And
Okay.
Ron, go ahead and take it away, sir.
There's a little house immediately to the east of these two houses.
Yeah,
It's very small. It's got about a 45 or 50 foot frontage. It's a junker.
yeah.
They said they thought it could be purchased for maybe $60,000, and they would purchase that, or we would purchase that and tear it down and make that the new driveway.
And parking area. It should be big enough. to
Oh,
have
there's more than enough parking area as
and that round behind. I've been there. I've seen what the building looks like.
Yeah, there's plenty of parking area. The biggest loss that I see, if this ever panned out, was the guys they've got the nice thing they have at the house they have right now is they got a pretty decent backyard.
Yeah,
And there is no backyard. There's a parking lot.
if they go across the street and play with the equipment to the north. When I was there, there were some heavy equipment over there and trucks. I think
I think that probably is a city storage
That's
lot, I guess.
yeah, that's what I thought it was, the city. And it's fairly close to the police station.
Caddy cornered about 100 yards.
Yeah.
I don't know, to keep the gunfights down. I don't know.
It's not,
Was Susan gonna pursue this with Matt and they get back to you what Lane says, or how did you leave that with her?
we're supposed to have a Zoom call, Teams call next Friday, perhaps between 1 and 3 p.m. To go over this in a little more detail, and for them to understand what we want, we can understand and tell them what we desire, and then they'll probably get with the chancellor, and we'll probably have yet another meeting.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. That's maybe get some kind of a definite answer from him.
Well, I think as Tom said, this is farther this is farther into the weeds than we've ventured ever before. So
Yeah, each time that
I'm pretty
Hyatt and I
excited
talked
about
to him, each time Hyatt and I talked to him, and when I talked to him separately, and, he was up to his eyeballs and alligators that time. He hadn't been here very long, and there were a lot of other pressing issues. So maybe he got time to start looking at it.
So I just have another question. So, who from the chapter, went with the C? Was it just Wyatt?
Just Wyatt.
What was his impression as you guys walked through it, and what was his feeling? And
Ron and I were a little disappointed in Wyatt. And
really,
that is, there's a hell of an opportunity here in front of Wyatt and the active chapter. And Wyatt at one point said, well, I don't want to move into this new location if you guys stall out and don't do the fundraising and we go all the way through. And at other times he seemed kind of downcast. He seemed downcast about doing this. And what I wanted to say to Wyatt privately was, look, Wyatt, I understand you will not see the benefit of this place if we decide to go forward. But Wyatt, I need you to sell this, and I need you to sell it in a positive, go forward manner to the folks in the active body, because what we're trying to accomplish here is twofold: get you out of where you're at and get us down the road towards something that we own. Ron, what's your impression?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I think he was lacking vision. My sense was that, well, we want a shiny new house and we want it now, and that isn't going to happen no matter what direction we go. And I felt like it was, first of all, he's graduating in May, so he's out of here in May. But I think Tom pretty much hit the nail on the head. I was expecting a little more enthusiasm from him because of what I would say the plight they're in, because what they're in is there's no question about it. It's a dump. And as I said, even if we bought one side of this place or rented one side of this place, and we'd be better off than what we are right now. But I think it was a lack of vision, a lack of foresight on his part, and I just think that they're kind of looking for a turnkey operation, and that ain't going to happen anywhere.
no.
One thing that told me that Chris Barrett and his partners wanted to be our partners, pardon that double use of the word partner, but Chris and his partners want to play ball with us, was when Chris took Wyatt's comments to heart and he said, look, I'll put in a sprinkler system at $30,000, $40,000. Look, I'll remodel it. I'll put up a fence around the backyard to give you the privacy that you're looking for, which was another Wyatt request. And he said, look, this will allow you to put your Greek letters outside. When I heard them say that, I said, these guys want to play ball with us. And I was disappointed in Wyatt, because I feel Wyatt needs to show a little more energy and a little more passion for what we're trying to do. And I think my overall take of Wyatt is that he's one of those guys you're going to have to pull along, kicking and screaming all the way to the finish line. Well,
and again, well, first of all, in January, he'll no longer be the Noble Ruler, one, and two, in May, he's out of here. So the fact of the matter is, at this point in time, he's got short-term itis and is just, I don't anticipate that he'll be a hard charger in any case. So I want to make a comment about why Tom keeps mentioning the sprinklers and letters on the house. It's a Carbondale requirement that if you put letters on the house, it has to be sprinkled. Does that make any kind of sense in anybody's world? You have 12 people living there, and they're just 12 renters living in that house. But if you put Greek letters on the house, it's got to have sprinklers.
Is that just a Carbondale or does it go back to the state? Now, Schilling tried to tell me that was a state requirement, that if you had a fraternity or sorority, that's what Rolf told me when back several years ago.
All I'm doing is relaying the information that they said.
Yeah.
If you put Greek letters on the house, it's got, it's Carbondale or the state, it's really, I don't know.
How about if you just put a big sign out front?
It's
not on the house.
Our house. But you may well be right. It sounds like something this squirrely state could come up with.
Yeah.
But that said, I mean, you can drive around Carbondale and there's 3 or 4 or 5 houses that's got Greek letters on them. So obviously they have fulfilled that requirement, or else there's somebody's ignoring it. But that's the reason for that. It's not something
Yeah.
that it may be
Yeah.
even somehow the university may have lobbied some time to have that as a requirement. Who knows?
Do they have Greek letters on our current house? Don't,
Yes, they do.
do they have a sprinkler system in that house?
They don't.
Yes,
It does?
yes.
Okay.
It
Well,
does.
maybe
That's,
I'll-
Okay.
that's where one of the guys hung all these clothes up there and broke the sprinkler head.
Oh, okay. Well, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
pox on me.
And the other thing
Did
is,
they put those, when
I
did they
deal-
put those sprinklers in?
2 years ago, maybe.
Huh. Wow. Okay.
But anyway, Rolf said that how we got by with it for as long as we did without those sprinklers in there.
Well,
And
probably
the
not.
other thing that's got to be tied into the local, either fire department or whatever. It's got to be electronic, and it's got to, if
Well-
it goes off, that signal goes to the city or the, sheriff's department, whatever city.
I just
don't
goes to
know,
show you
somewhere.
those fraternity and sorority assets are much more valuable than just plain old run of the mill students.
Evidently,
Apparently so.
And I think another comment I think needs to be shared with our group here. It is not the perfect location for a Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity house. It has some drawbacks, but I think it's the best thing we have going, and if we don't pursue it, there in my mind is no other route.
Well, even at this, maybe we can generate enough buzz and interest within our organization to, to really get some interest going. I mean, we've been pushing this rope now for what, 18 years, more or less. And because when we first moved to Freeman Street, that was just temporary.
Yeah. So I don't mean that to be depressing or down, but somebody along the way will probably say, that's the wrong location, or that's not the right place, or that's not the right vision. It might not be, but I just say, damn it. It's
well,
the best thing we got going.
the distance to university to classes is further, but most of those guys in there now have pickup trucks, and they, how many of them walk to class?
That was one thing Wyatt was very, very positive about. That's no problem. Everybody's got a truck or a car, and if they don't, they got a buddy that does. And there's a bus stop right across the street from the house.
Yeah.
Up on the corner or something. It's very close if you couldn't walk.
And it's not all that far to walk anyway, like a nice day.
Well, to the main part of campus, it's not, but going over to the Egg Building, it's a pretty good hike.
Yeah.
But it's not, but there just isn't property available in Carbondale for whatever reason. And if this was on the other side of Mill Street across the tracks, well, oh my God, it'd be perfect. But
Did that facility, either one of those buildings, have washers and dryers and stuff like
Yes.
that in them?
yes.
Had laundry facilities?
Yeah, they're about between 10 and 12, maybe 13 years old. These guys built them. And so they've milked that cow, and they're ready to turn it over. And so, like I said, $714 is their price for the 2 properties. And I didn't really hear much that's negotiable. I didn't hear much negotiating going on. They seem pretty fixed on that.
I would agree with that.
You
So
know,
is there nobody in the units now?
They're mostly filled up. The unit we walked through was vacant.
Okay,
Yeah, there was sign out front. I was there, what was I there 2-3 weeks ago? And there were some signs out front for renting.
I think they have some
Or-
people planning on moving in for the summer to them. But I don't think they're spoken for the fall at this point.
so when do we have to give him a commitment for the fall?
We
Remember?
have to have by Thanksgiving
Yep.
of 2023, we have to tell them what we want to do for next year.
Okay,
That's going to be coming up very shortly for Freeman too. They're going to start wanting to get the contracts for next year for Freeman because they do expire at the end of this semester or this year.
This
spring.
end of the second year.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised we haven't heard from anybody, any of us haven't heard from them on that Freeman property.
They will.
It will.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if we can, have a ace in our back pocket, it'll feel a lot better.
Another thing we might point out, Tom, is the electricity bill for that Freeman house for the last month was $1,700, $1,690,
Holy
$1,700.
This is what's causing them to have trouble paying our bills.
Put that on top of $350 a month for 10 or 11 guys. And of course, the guys outside the house, they aren't sharing any of that, or if they are, it's very little of it. So the realtors were pretty confident that the electricity bill in this building is significantly lower. He was going to give us a number, but he didn't get it. I don't know. He called somebody, but he didn't get a number back to us. But
Wonder what's causing that Freeman property to have such high electricity. But I know electricity rates have gone up, but not that much.
well,
Couple
it's probably
things.
40 years old, and there's cracks around the windows, and they probably keep it about 72 degrees.
Yeah,
And-
keep the air conditioners running all the time and the door open or a window.
And there's inefficient air conditioning units. There's cracks around the window, and the freezer that they're presently using needs to be thrown out the door.
That upright freezer or the big chest freezer?
I
But
got
they're
the
big
feeling
chest
it's the
freezer?
chest freezer.
I think it was the chest freezer, they said.
I'm not sure. I'm
We
not
own
sure.
that, don't we? Don't we own that?
Did that move from 116?
I don't
Um,
know. I was thinking we owned the freezer, but maybe not. What about the refrigerator in there? Did Rolf put that in, I wonder? I can't remember. It was all in there before I took over.
Well, there has been a lot of
Now-
discussion about them putting new seals on the refrigerator, so that tells me they must own the refrigerator. I just kept hearing comments about the freezer leaking like a sieve.
I know the stove belongs to the property, but I didn't know about I assume that that refrigerator freezer in there did too, but I don't know.
Is it Rick asked me this question the other day. We've kind of shared a lot of what we learned from that meeting the other day. But what I'd like from the board's approval is permission to negotiate with Chris, permission to seek alternate housing, and everybody to be very clear as to what our agenda is, what we're trying to accomplish. Therefore, that's why I want a alumni board meeting before Rick leaves.
What about the deposit for that? Just a month rent?
That didn't come up the other day. I don't know that answer. That's
What was the question?
That's a great question.
What was the question, Steve?
How much deposit do they want?
Oh.
Just a month's rent from everybody?
Well, that's pretty much a standard rental agreement, and just about any circumstance, so I would imagine, my guess would be,
Yes.
yeah.
The security deposit, some want 2 months, some want 1.
But
I think-
that's a fair question. So that's where we stand.
Okay.
It was a productive couple of days. The job responsibilities thing went over really well. And a lot of good ground was covered, and clarified job responsibilities are in the works for another meeting later in January, February.
Good. Well, I appreciate the update.
That's where we stand. Rick, I think you got your marching orders on Survey Monkey. What, if there's anything we can do to help, let's roll.
Sounds good. I'll,
I appreciate everybody's time tonight. Thank you so much.
you bet.
Okay, well, that it?
That's it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Take care, guys. Good
Good
Have a
night.
good
Care.
one.
Good to see all of you. Okay.
Bye.
Seeing you. Bye.